Hi guys, welcome back. This time around I'm bringing you a review which I had already previously done. However, I decided to redo it as I thought it would make sense to not only join the G20 with the TP35 Pro, which also shares the common app which now EPZ has. But anyway, this is a review for the EPZ, the G20, which is the substitute for the G10. There will be a G30 coming out soon, so I hope when I get that one in my hands, I will be able to then compare the three models, the G10, the G20, and the G30. But anyway, the G20 is in essence, you could say it's in essence the G10 with the major difference that we find being the use of the app which has been created, and that app is the WALKPLAY app. In the initial version or not updated version of that app in the G20 and also in the TP35 Pro, I was encountering some issues, and basically that was also another reason why I decided to delay this review and now do it with the most recent software version for either one having been applied not only to the G20 DAC cable and also to the TP35 Pro. Anyway, the G20 comes decently accessorized. It's got obviously, I've actually got two G20s here. I've got the blue color one, as you can see, and I've got the gray color one. Okay, so gray color, and blue color. All right, it's a nice resin plastic type of shell. It's got a nice quality to it. It's got a nice finish. I have to say that it's one thing that EPZ never really disappoints. They always give us a nice quality to their products, even if their products have got, let's say, a more budget price. Although obviously $50 is not exactly budget, but you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Anyway, this is the one cable that comes with the G20. It's got just a normal 3.5 connection. Excuse me, and it's got also as well an inline microphone. To be honest, and since both cables are supplied, I guess it would have been nice if there was an option for a cable without the mic, in case some of us would like the cable without the mic. But anyway, this is not even a nitpick. This is just a personal suggestion. So it brings this cable, okay, and then it brings the cable which has the incorporated DAC into it, and that DAC then gives access to the WALKPLAY app. And then with the WALKPLAY app, you get the possibility to, via a parametric equalizer, to equalize the G20 to your own taste, or then use some of the presets which are there already, which I will show you in a second, and also use or upload your own presets, or use uploaded presets by other users. Anyway, there's also a connection here for the microphone, which is over here, okay, which you can detect it, take it out. There's an adapter for you to connect it up to your PC, and then the tips that it brings, if it's the gray version, it brings these ones. If it's a blue version, it brings these ones. The tips are actually of very nice quality. They remind me of the tips that Let's Show used to use as well in the IEMs, the S12 and so on and so forth, and they work perfectly. Honestly, they really work well. Anyway, that's the accessories and everything. So let's talk here G20 now, and then I'll walk you through the app. The common thing here about the G20, the G10, and the EPZ Q1 Pro, which I've got here, is the usage of, as far as I was able to ascertain, the same driver. The G10 and the G20's shell, and let me pick up here both sides, is, I would say, exactly the same shell in terms of design. I really spent my time looking at them, and to be honest, I could not find a difference. They both got the metal nozzle, the same size faceplate. Obviously the finish is different in one and the other. The same orientation of the vent here in the back. It is the same shell, and that obviously then shows in the graph that we get from them when we are using just the stock cables without the DAC, which the G10 obviously didn't have. The Q1 Pro it's got a slightly different shell. It's still got the metal nozzle, but the shell is slightly different. Let me pick here again the same side. So this is left. Let me get here the left side as well. Okay, if we pick them up, you can see there is a slight difference here on the design of the shell, and as well the biggest difference, which is but you can notice there's a slight difference as well in terms of the angling of the nozzles. In the back, or rather in the side here, the positioning here of the vent is similar, and I would say that yes, there is similarities, but the G20 has this bump, the Q1 Pro doesn't, or it's less pronounced, or at least it looks that way. There is similarities, but the similarities are, in my opinion, not as pronounced as they are in the case of the G10. Okay. I mean, the shell, honestly, I don't know, I could be very wrong, but it looks exactly like the same shell, just different finish, while the shell on the Q1 it just has a slightly different it's just very slightly different. That, at least, like I said, I looked at it carefully, and it's not I mean, it's not nothing big in terms of difference, but there's a slight difference. Okay, anyway, that's neither here or there. What I'm trying to say about this is that yes, these minor changes in the shell can introduce a slight differences as well in the end result of the tuning, and that's exactly what what I did find when I started comparing the three of them. The G10, the G20, and the Q1, they very much have the same sort of bass, and up to about, I would say, 4.5, 5K, they are exactly the same. What then changes ever so slightly, and I was careful enough to take the same tip and measure the three with exactly the same tip, was that in the Q1 Pro, the dip after 5K is a little bit more pronounced than it is on the G20, and as well the extension past 10K, let's put it that way, it is a little bit well, the one that has the most extension seems to be the G20, followed then by the G10, and then the Q1 Pro. Now, is that noticeable? Yes, you do notice a little more extension on the G20, but I think that difference that exists there, in the extension past 10K, when I'm comparing the the G20 with the Q1, I think it's more down to the actual slight difference that exists in the shell than anything else. Because when I listen to the Q1, to the G10 and to the G20 without the the dongle, when I listen to them, they sounded exactly the same. And if I connect the G10 to the dongle, to the cable with the dongle of the G20, again, it's exactly the same thing. There's no difference at all. But anyway, once again, when I show you the graphs now in a second, you'll be able to better understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let me now show you how the app WALKPLAY works. Okay, you hook up the G20, you're greeted by a message, yes, to hook it up, to connect it up. You open up the app, it automatically identifies it, EPZ G20, as you can see there, in-ear gaming earphone, which is basically what the G10 and the G20 are, and then enter the set. And once you enter the set, you got the default settings, custom, online, and my share, or the settings that you've done. So the default there we go. Okay, default settings. Sometimes these are the small little glitches that I still find occasionally, and just to make it worse, it happens precisely when I'm trying to show. Anyway, I'll start with here with the custom equalizations that I've done. I've done a few custom EQs just to play around. When you go into it, you then have the ability to adjust the frequency. Okay, you click on it, you click on it there, you can adjust the frequency, or then you can adjust the Q, so how much bandwidth is affected by that center frequency, and the gain, and then in real time it kind of really starts showing you what's happening there. You also have the ability to adjust the DAC volume playback, and the idea is to keep things underneath or below that red line that's over there, that red dotted line that's over there. Okay, and that is to avoid any sort of distortion or keep the DAC working where it's most optimal. Anyway, so I have here some EQs that I did for the G20. I'm actually using currently this one here. What I've also done is I've actually share them on my ability to share for the online. So they are both there, both the first initial EQ that I did and then the latest one that I've done. And then, as I said, you got the defaults, which again you can also adjust. You got the pure setting, you got the pop setting, you got the bass setting. So you got a whole bunch of settings then that you can also play around with and adjust. So the app is very easy to work with. Only on certain occasions, as you saw earlier, you have these little glitches where it kind of takes its time to go into the actual menu that you want, but it's not always that all the time that it does. It just happened to happen now, and I mean, my apologies. Rather you know about it from the get-go than be surprised or think it's an abnormal thing. No, it happens. It's become much better now since the software has been updated. The other little negative little thing that you notice sometimes is when you're changing from the presets, you notice some noises in the actual earphone, some pops and some crackles and so on. I don't know, I guess it's not as noticeable with the TP35 Pro. I guess it's down to some filtering that could have been done better, or they could momentarily switch off the output of the DAC before it changing over. Look, it's things which I think in future iterations of this cable it can be improved upon. At the end of the day, when you consider that it's $50 and you're getting all of what you're getting, I don't think we can really be complaining too much. But anyway, as I said, you got the custom settings which I've already shown you. You got the online settings where everybody puts their own stuff up there, and my share is what I have actually shared, and that's it. There's nothing more to be said. You can also adjust the microphone if you want to adjust the microphone level, and that's it. You got a small little guide for EQ tuning guide and for the mic guide, and look, in essence, that is it. There's nothing more that I can say other than, if you guys get it, then just play around with it, and I'm definitely sure that you are going to be very impressed by how well the app actually works. When I compare it, for example, to stuff which has been done by other brands, namely, for example, Moondrop and Tanstrom, which were also without their flaws, this one is definitely the best one, without question. The EPZ little dongle DAC cable, whatever you want to call it, is the best of the three, especially when it comes to the app and how intuitive the app is, and it actually works well. It's got this occasional hiccups here and there, but as I've noted before, it's down to just software, and the latest version of the software has resolved a lot more of those hiccups. As for the TP35, and you guys know that I like the EPZ dongles, the TP50, the TP35, and now the TP35 Pro, and they are different. If you look carefully, you will see that there has been a redesign of the circuit. Okay, so it's not just they that added the app. The TP35 Pro takes on what the TP35 did really well, and the TP35 gets a lot of its magic from the TP50 because they're all using the CS43198. It's just slight differences that have been implemented with regards to the actual circuitry and the op amps that they are using. The TP35 Pro, I would say, given the fact that it has the WALKPLAY capability, it's the one that is the best one, let's put it, out of the three.
if you are not one to play around with that kind of stuff, then the TP50 still remains king. In its pure setting, let's put it in you know, if I have to compare, yeah, the TP35 Pro, the TP35 and the TP50 in its normal setting, without any EQing and everything, the TP50 for me personally is still the one that comes out in front. Why, you ask? I don't know, it just seems to be the one that's the most polished out of the three. The TP35 is a good way of getting the TP50 performance, or almost all of that performance at a substantial lower value, and the TP35 Pro, at being the same value as the TP35 and having the WALKPLAY app, and in my opinion playing better than the TP35, is, I think, the one that makes the most sense, because it gives you basically a performance which is very equal to the the TP50 in its standard, without EQing implementation. But then, because you can EQ it, and that's the ultimately what the reason why you buy the TP35 Pro is, because you want to play around with the EQ. It is pretty impressive. I have to say that I was definitely impressed. I was very, very much impressed. When I compare it to something like, for example, FiO and their apps, this just blows away FiO. It just blows away. The BTR17, yes, has got an amazing app, but it just takes forever for you to do any sort of adjustments. The adjustments themselves are nothing spectacular. The only thing that really surpasses the TP35 Pro in terms of the app is well, of what is still available, but it's the QDeluxe, the 5Q, the 5K, sorry, the 5K from QDeluxe is still the best dongle deck, Bluetooth, whatever you want to call it. The app is just absolutely phenomenal. The interaction, the adjustments, everything. It's just it's next level. This is probably the one that's going to be coming in the closest to that. And be it not for the fact that it needs a cable, obviously, because it hasn't got Bluetooth capabilities, I would say that sonically this trades some serious blows with the 5Q, and you guys know that I'm a big fan of the 5Q, a very, very big fan of the 5Q. I don't think that QDeluxe has made anything that's surpassed it yet. And that's it. So guys, TP35 Pro, a definite rec in my opinion. Definitely recommend it. The app works amazing. Expect some hiccups here and there, but it works amazing. Sonically, it is phenomenal. It's got the Cirrus Logic type of sound, so it's not overly bright. It's not overly dark as some of the more some of the implementations by AKM. It's got that nice. It strikes a nice balance. And I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think it's honestly the best value for money that EPZ offers in their dongles right now. As for the G20 and comparing it with the G10 and the Q1 Pro, if you were to ask me which one would I buy, Tony, which one is the one that makes the most sense? Well, the G10 doesn't make sense straight away because of the fact that it no longer has or doesn't have the cable that the G20 has. And then comparing the G20 with the Q1 Pro, fair enough, there is close to a $20 difference between the two of them. But again, the fact that it brings this cable, I would say yes, G20 definitely. G20 is the way to go. It's definitely the one that makes the most sense. All right, guys, let me show you now quickly the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Okay, guys, let's start here with the graphs and get this out of the way. So this first graph here is of the G10. Keeping in mind, like I mentioned, all of them are using the BGVP whiteboard tip, as I use that tip as the common tip for all the measurements. I then did also the measurement using the stock tip, and the difference was actually surprisingly minimal. So I used always the same tip, which was the BGBP whiteboard, and I did repeated the measurements with the stock tip that the G20 brings. This is the G10, as you can see. a nice gliding style of bass. Some people complained about it being a little bit mid-bass, lacking. The 100 hertz point here, when you take it and compare it to the to where I like to see it, which is above 2K. Yes, there's a lot of energy above 2K, a lot of energy, but it's mitigated somehow by a nice strong sub bass presence. But there is a tendency for the G10 to be a little bit on the more clinical side of things. Okay, the Q1 Pro, the Q1 Pro, and this particular Q1 Pro that I have. Honestly, the difference that you see here, I couldn't honestly pick up on it well when listening. And the difference that did exist was here in this area, and it happened with both tips, be it the BGP wide bore or be it the stock tip of the G20. This dip always happened. Did I hear anything honestly comparing one and the other? Not really. What I did notice, and now when I put the G20 you will understand, is this, and I'm going to take the G10. Actually, you know what, let me make the G20 stand out in a different color, and I'll make it red as well, I don't know, maybe black. Maybe black is the better option, so you guys can see it. Yeah, black is the better option. There we go. What I did notice is the G20 does have a little bit more of an extension, a little bit more detail up top there, definitely. Otherwise, as you can see, the bass on the G20 and on the Q1 Pro is basically the same, and my G10 shows a little bit more bass. It isn't in this part here that I noticed difference. It isn't in this part here that I noticed any difference between the three of them. It's a little bit more detail up top in the case of the G20. I noticed the G20 seems to have a little bit more air. Okay, when I compared then the G20 with the G10, again guys, the difference is, it's perceivable here and there, but you have to be really paying a lot of attention. Okay, all of this to say what, it plays well. It's a good sounding IM. There's really not much that you can point at it, other than the fact that because the mid bass is maybe a little bit laid back as compared to where then we have this area here corresponding in the mids to where the 100 hertz point is. The mid bass can sound a little bit thin. It's clean, it helps out the mids, it makes vocals and instruments, and in this case gaming, be pretty accurate and pretty entertaining, because you can position things very nicely. But that's really, the only nitpick that you can put on it is that in certain genres where you need a little bit more mid-bass slam, it's a little bit on the softer side. So what did I decide to do? I decided to make my own little EQs, and the EQ I ended up, I did two which I liked very much. One is this one, which gives it more of a tuck style of bass. It gives it a little extra energy here in the mid bass, emphasizes a little bit more the sub bass, but the balance that's now struck, if you now take the 100 hertz point, is a nicer balance. So it kind of makes it that the mids still remain nice and clean, but they don't sound overly clinical at times. All right, and I also gave it a little bit more energy up top. The other variation that I did was the same thing basically in the bass. And I just dropped off the energy after it picking up at 2.5 in the upper mids. I just dropped it off slightly while still maintaining as well that upper frequency information. So if I put the two of them, you notice that the one has just got a little bit more slightly forward mids. That's all. And this EQ, this version of the G20's EQ is the version that I like, enjoying it the most. I mean, and this is basically down to the fact that I like listening more to music than necessarily playing games, and it kind of gives me then the sound that I'm looking for. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. You might think that it's overly V-shaped, but trust me, when you hear it, it doesn't sound as V-shaped as what the diagram, or the graph rather, can make you believe. I mean, we're talking about a bass gain, yes, that is about 12 dBs. We're talking about a upper mids gain of about 9. But it's not as emphasized, or not as V-shaped as you would think. And the nice thing is that the balance that I was able to obtain here in the upper mids and treble and past 10k energy is very equal. It's there at lower volumes, it's there at mid volumes, it's there at high volumes, and I was actually quite surprised at how well the cable was able to handle pretty decent volumes. The only thing that it's a pity, and I would like to see perhaps, or maybe I am doing it wrong, and maybe it's already a capability that exists. The EQing that I have done here for the G20, I can only have access to, or in my mind, I thought that I would have access to it once I shared it online, if I connected up my TP35, and I'm not being able to have access to it. So maybe I am doing something wrong. Maybe some of you can help me out. But that would be interesting. And why? Because then I could take something like the TP35, which also has the WALKPLAY capability, and go and fetch that EQ that I've done for the likes of the G20 or any other IEM that I've maybe connected up to the cable, just to see how it sounds, and use a better quality source to see how it sounds. Other than that, honestly, there's really nothing that I can say that didn't satisfy me or didn't please me about the G20. I think the G20 is a nice improvement over the original G10, and something that is worth considering. Or then, let's wait for the G30 and see what the G30 is like. But honestly, for the $50 that is being asked for the G20, and considering the whole accessories package, the decent cabling the decent cable that it brings, and the tips, and it's a solid offering from EPZ. All right, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Anything that you would like to ask me, please feel free to do so. Take care now. Bye bye.